to another episode of E&F TV's Bridging the Gap, and I'm delighted today to be joined by Pamela Reckert, Programme Lead in International Hospitality Business Management at Manchester Met. Pamela, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Morning, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on the show today. So I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Well, I feel under pressure today, I'm not going to lie to you, because you're a fellow podcaster and YouTuber, aren't you, that does your own show, Hospitality Tomorrow, is it called?
So it's Hospitality Insights. So we do a bit of a mix, really. We talk to our industry connections that we have within the university, and we also interview our students as well, talking about their experience within our hospitality programme, and also what their plans are for the future. So a little bit of a mix, but definitely in good company with yourself, as I really enjoy your show and your different programmes that you've done in the past.
We were comparing notes off camera, weren't we, and saying that we
Yes.
both kind of listen to the podcast while exercising, me when I'm running and you when you're at the gym.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good time to catch up on what's going on in the industry, and also just fascinating. I really enjoy hearing about people's experiences, their career journeys, and also what people are doing now, because of course, as we know, in hospitality, the trends are just changing all the time, and it's great to hear what other people are doing and kind of sharing best practices as well.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Tell us, before we get into it, tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up in the position you're in at Manchester Met.
Yes, so I've been in the hospitality industry actually for 25 years. So I started very young, of course, with that amount of experience. But yes, I've always had a passion for hotels. My parents owned a hotel when I was quite young, and I started working in my parents' restaurant in the hotel. And I just really enjoyed working there. You know, I was 16 at the time, enjoyed meeting customers, chatting with people, and yeah, kind of got a bit of a buzz for the industry. And then I started working for Hilton Hotels. I was just working in conference and banqueting in Glasgow. And then when I finished school, I did actually go on to do business law while I was working at the Hilton, but then realised actually that I had more of a passion for hospitality than I did for law. And a colleague of mine had said, why don't you do a hospitality programme, which I didn't even know there was these sort of degrees available at university. But I then went on to study at the hotel school at Strathclyde University, and I did my hotel and hospitality management degree there while I was working for Hilton at the time. And then I left there and went on to work at a couple of independent hotels in Glasgow. And I worked as an assistant manager at one of the hotels, and I kind of really got to get to grips with all the different areas of hotels at that point, because I worked across all different departments. And got to know what it was like to be a manager overall of a small hotel, because at the time it was, it was 72 bedrooms, but we had banqueting for 400, and it was quite an operation. But I really learned a lot from that experience. And then I went back into Hilton actually, and I was working as the conference and banqueting manager there, again in Glasgow. And then after a couple of years there, I moved to London to be the conference and banqueting operations manager for the Waldorf in London and the Aldwych, which was an absolutely incredible experience. In 2.5 years there, working with some amazing brands, some fantastic companies like Warner Brothers, and we worked with quite a lot of movie producers and theatre musicals, doing opening nights and Bollywood weddings, and some amazing events that we were looking after there and running. And then I decided from there that I actually really wanted to go and work in an island. So used the Hilton brand to then move to the Hilton Seychelles. And I was there as
Wow.
food and beverage operations manager, and absolutely loved it. 2 years there. Such a beautiful island.
Mm.
Lots of hard work. We had long days. We used to start at 7 in the morning and finish at 11 at night. But the island itself was amazing. The attention to detail, the service, the clients that we looked after were really, really high quality, and gave me such an amazing experience when it came to customer service. So really, really enjoyed that. And also working with the local team members was fantastic. You know, they were so passionate, so dedicated to hospitality and looking after customers, which for me was really amazing to work with. And then after there, I decided to go to the Middle East. So then I went to Abu Dhabi and worked in the Shangri-La there for 2 years. Again, as food and beverage manager, another incredible place. We did a lot of the Formula One events there. We worked with a lot of big bands and big international companies as well. We did a lot of events and parties in our bars and restaurants there. And it was again a really great experience. And Shangri-La as a brand was fantastic to work for. That's the first time I'd kind of left Hilton after a long time. But it was a great brand, and they had a huge focus around people and looking after their team, which was amazing to be part of. But while I was actually working in food and beverage there, I got the opportunity to go out quite regularly with the sales team and promote our bars, our restaurants that we had within Shangri-La. And then I kind of got a bit of a sales bug from doing that, and realised that actually it wasn't so much the food and the beverage part that I loved, it was more the people and promoting the brand, promoting our products. And then I thought I might try sales and kind of step out of that operations role that I'd been in for a long time at that point.
At what age was that, Pamela?
Oh gosh, so at that point I was 28. So yes, I
Okay.
was 28 then when I decided to completely change.
So you've been in
Still within
operations for quite a
hotels.
while then.
Yeah, so by that point, I had been in for about 12, 13 years in
Yeah.
operations, and I loved it. But I realised it was very much about the people that I loved and working in teams. And I
Mm.
thought maybe sales is where I should be in. And then that was when we then decided to, my husband and I, we then decided to move back to the UK, and we went to Manchester, and we both went to work for Marriott Hotels. And I decided that that was the point where I was going to start my sales career. So I started as
Mm.
a sales researcher for Marriott Hotels at the Worsley Park Marriott. And I was then looking after 9 of the hotels. So I did a regional role for what we have here, called the Pennines, which was all the hotels in the north of the UK. So that covered like Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, and also York as well, and Preston. So I was looking after 9 hotels within those areas. And I was researching clients, I was making introductions to the clients with our account managers, and just really getting the basics of sales kind of like under my belt, because at that point I didn't really know much about sales. And it was really great experience for me just to start, you know, at the bottom and kind of work my way up. And then after
Yeah.
9 months, I was then sales manager at the Worsley Park Marriott. And then Worsley Park plus the Manchester Airport Marriott. And then I was director of sales at Marriott Victoria and Albert Hotel. And then I was there for 4 years. Again, great experience, great to work with another fantastic brand like Marriott, lots of training, a lot of really good connections in terms of relationships with big clients. Which was such a great experience for me. But during that time, I also started guest lecturing at Manchester Metropolitan University, where I am now, and got a bit of a bug for the lecturing and working with the students, and started to get a bit more involved in organising workshops with the students around sales, around revenue, doing industry visits with them. So built up a really good relationship with the hospitality lecturers at the university, and continued to do that right up until COVID. And then I started to do a little bit more lecturing with them online when I was on furlough, because I was on furlough for a couple of months at that point, and just started to get a little bit more involved.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, maybe this could be a move for myself in the future. So I started to think about it from there, really. But in between doing the guest lecturing, I also then moved to Mottram Hall, which is a Champneys-owned hotel in Cheshire. I went there as Director of Sales and Marketing. And again, I was there for 4 years. Loved it because it was fantastic being in a resort. So I'd been so used to city centre properties. Now I was in a resort where I had an amazing spa, golf, big meeting and event space, big grounds for team building, which was amazing. And then I decided once I'd finished there to go to corporate travel management. So I decided to work for an agency to see it from the other side and work for a travel management company, which was again such a huge learning curve for me because I learned so much about air travel, rail, car hire, hotels from a supplier point of view, ferries. It was so much that I learned and such a great experience for me. And while I was doing that, I was also doing my master's in business administration, which is what I needed to become a lecturer. And while I was in the middle of my studies, an opportunity came up for me to join the team at Manchester Metropolitan University as a lecturer, which I then applied for, and I was successful, which was great. So I've been there 2 years now, and then I became the program leader for the hospitality department in January this year. So I've been doing that ever since. And yeah, it's been amazing. I love working at the university, working with the students. The team I work with are fantastic. We're such a close group. We really bounce off each other, work really well as a team. And the students are great, hospitality students, full of lots of personality. They're international students as well. So it's just great having that mix of different cultures and different nationalities. So so that's my journey to where I am today. So it's been interesting, and yeah, I've loved every minute of it.
It seems to me like a common theme throughout your career is you've been willing to try new things, be that new experiences in different countries or different roles within hospitality, and then coming out of it and guest lecturing. And it's almost like you said, "This is me. No, this is me. No, this is me." And that's a brilliant attitude to have towards life, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's, and I say this, I was actually saying this to our students yesterday as well, that it's when you're first coming into the industry or going into any industry, you're always trying to figure out what am I, what suits me, what
Yeah.
works for me, what do I love, what am I passionate about. And I said to them, it is a lot of trial and error, to find out what it is that really suits you, what motivates you, what you're passionate about. But I think while you're trying to find that, which, as you said, I went through many different experiences to find something that I,
Mm.
absolutely love and I'm really passionate about. I had some amazing experiences, and I don't think without all the experience that I've had in terms of the industry itself and the different roles I've been in industry, that I would be able to do the job that I'm doing now without all of that
Mm.
experience, and being able to share those experiences and living in different countries and experiencing different cultures and different ways of working, which I think in our industry is really important. And it is that what is amazing about our industry is that opportunity to travel and experience in different ways of working in different cultures. And it's good to have those journeys along the way and to see,
Mm.
what works for you and what's right for you.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that a lot of you guys that have ended up in position that you're in as lecturers in hospitality, and I know a couple of other universities I'm thinking of are accidental academics. You kind of fell into it just, from doing a couple of guest lectures, or someone asked you to fill in one day, and before you knew it, it was a fully fledged career in academia. That was certainly the case with you, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think it becomes, and actually a couple of my friends who I've asked to do guest lectures in the last couple of years while I've been there, they've said the exact same thing. You get quite a buzz out of it. You bounce
Yeah.
off the students, and being able to share your experience and talking about areas that you're passionate in, whether that be sales, revenue, marketing, operations, whatever it is. and seeing the students' eyes, light up, and them asking lots of
Mm,
questions, and them really taking something from it. And having feedback from the students as well at the end where they're like, you really inspired me. Because of you, I did this, or I've learned so much from you. And that really
mm.
gives you a buzz. And I think it can become quite, I'm really enjoying this. And I think that was
Quite
definitely the case
addictive.
for me. Yeah, I loved it. I loved being able to think that I was part of developing the future of our industry, which
Yeah.
for me is really important, that journey to get there.
Mm. So I was at a careers event at UWL a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to someone that I vaguely recognised, and we were talking about how he was asking me about opportunities as revenue analyst, that graduate level, trying to get into revenue management, and I said,
Yes.
can I ask, where did you get this idea from? What was it covered in the syllabus or? And he said, you. And I said, from me? He said, yeah, you when you came last year and you did a guest lecture at UWL. And I was like, oh wow. So he said, yeah, I'd done it as part of the syllabus, and then you came in and did the lecture. Um, so now that kind of ignited the fire in me to want to go into revenue management. I was like, the
Yes.
system works. It's absolutely brilliant to hear, and I can see why it will become quite addictive. Just
Yeah,
going,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's it. And I think because I think when you're really passionate about a particular area, that I used to quite often come in and do guest lecture on that sales and marketing side and customer experience. And to have that same conversation with people after going, oh, I think I really want to get into sales now as well. I'd love to get into sales. What do I do
yeah,
to get into sales? I thought, yes,
yeah,
I have inspired people to join the sales side of hospitality.
yeah, and you can tell that story with authority, can't you? Which like commands that respect, having been there and done it yourself.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Just going back to, I'm particularly interested in your how you went from ops to sales, and how do you feel those skills overlap? So how did your grounding in operations and F&B help you as you went forward into a career in hospitality sales?
I think definitely the people side, the customer focus side that you need to do an operational role is transferable into sales
Yeah.
because you're building relationships with people, you're getting to know what your customers' needs and wants are, you're trying to anticipate what their expectations are, what they're looking for when it comes to service. And I think when you're doing that operationally, you can then think, right, how do I then tell people about what we're doing here? And also when you experience it firsthand in operations, it makes it so much easier to then be able to sell it and tell people this is what we do, this is how we can do it. You know what works and what doesn't. And I've always found when I've myself been hiring salespeople to join me, whether it be sales manager roles, sales executive role, people who've had that operation experience
Mm,
um, have a real understanding of what works and what doesn't,
yeah.
and also how to have that interaction with customers and build up those relationships, which is so important in a sales role. So I think definitely, the skills are transferable for sure, especially around that customer focus side.
Yeah, these people have like forged their soft skills in the furnace of F&B almost, haven't they? Having to deal with complaints and people, and same for receptionists, I suppose. It's that
Yeah.
interaction, isn't it? That kind
Yes.
of, if you enjoy it and you get a buzz from it, then you could take that kind of like, I suppose, forward into a career in sales. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Tell
And I think
me,
sorry, I was just going to say, I think that
no, go on.
roles like front office, and when I worked in Mottram Hall as well, our leisure reception team as well, they were all people who I used to think, I want you in my sales team, because the way they used to
Yeah,
talk to the customers and the way
yeah.
they were essentially upselling as well. They were like, oh, why don't you add on a massage, why don't you add on that? They were like also doing a bit of upselling as well and managing to
Mm,
convince those customers, to buy more from them. And I always thought, oh, these people, because as you said, they're building, it's the same skills that are there.
yeah.
So yeah, it works really well.
People.
Yes, definitely. People.
Tell me about international hospitality business management. Tell me about that. Tell me about the syllabus.
So yeah, so our course is a 3-year course, but you can also do an additional year placement as well, which you do between your second year and your third year. And within our course, it's very industry led as well. We do a lot of industry collaboration, and we also do a lot of industry consultation as well when we're thinking about our units. So everything we do is based around the skills that our students need to be employable when they graduate. So we very much tailor the course around that. We adapt it a lot, we change it. We get a lot of feedback from industry around what we're doing and how we can make it more focused around the skills required. But what we do in our first year is kind of give our students that basic of what they need to know about the industry, some of kind of that background. So looking at the basics of marketing and the basics of hospitality and tourism, and just really kind of building in the background to what our industry is. And then as they kind of move into the second year, it becomes more about the skills around the commercial side, looking at revenue, looking at sales, looking at marketing specifically focused around hospitality and not just more of a general, but also looking at those kind of more specific areas around service management, corporate hospitality, events. So we kind of go a bit more focused in the second year. And then the third year is very much around applying everything that they've been learning in the first and second year. And that's when, for example, we have our hotel simulation there, where our students take everything that they've learned in the last couple of years in terms of revenue, in terms of marketing and customer service, team satisfaction, and they kind of put it all into a hotel simulation, where they've actually got to physically run a hotel in a simulator. So it's kind of putting all of them together. But throughout the course, we not only, as I said, we have a lot of industry collaboration where we're bringing industry in to do guest lectures. We're also going out to hotels and venues across the UK, so not just in Manchester. And we kind of use the Manchester as a city as our classroom. So we very much take the students in there. We do discussions and workshops within hotels and put what we've been teaching in class into practice so they can see that. And we do that throughout every level. And from an international point of view, again, it's threaded throughout. So we talk about cross-cultural management. Everything we talk about is very focused around not just the UK, but all over the world when it comes to service, when it comes to management, when it comes to that commercial awareness side. And we also take our students on international trips. So we take them to Switzerland every year because we have a partnership with the Swiss Hotel School out in Lucerne. We also work with the American University in Cairo, the American University in Romania. We also work with Verdaccia in India, and also Rabat in Morocco. And we have a summer school every year. So we always take our students abroad in the summer for a couple of weeks where, again, they get to take part in workshops, do a lot around gastronomy. So last year we took them to Paris and Rouen for 2 weeks. And then this year they're going to Morocco, and another group are going to New York. And then we're doing Barcelona next year. So we try to expose our students to as much from an international point of view, as well as that business management focus side as well. And what we do and within our course as well is make sure that we have other skills in there. So the human resources side, that accounting, that finance, and make the course very transferable into other industries as well. So some of our students from last year are working with finance companies, working with HR companies. So it doesn't mean because you do our program that you can only work in a hotel or you can only work in a venue. The skills that we teach within our program, especially with it being business management as part of it, is transferable into other industries as well. So it really gives our students a lot of options when it comes to those graduate opportunities. And what we are very lucky with as well within our programme is our industry connections. And because our programme is very detailed around the skills that are required by industry, we have relationships with a lot of big brands who then offer our student placement opportunities, internship opportunities, and then graduate opportunities as well. And our students really take advantage of these, and we encourage them to increase their professional network, and to really make sure that their professional profile online is appealing to what industry are looking for, and we're trying to give them as much access to many things as we can, that they can share that, and make themselves employable, for when they graduate.
What do the students start in the course? What do they hope to come out with? Where do they hope to be in 10 years' time? Say if I was guest lecturing at your university and I said, put your hand up if you want to be in 10 years' time a general manager, a sales manager, a revenue manager, what would be the most common answer?
I think it's a real mixed bag, really. I think if you ask them in first year would say general manager. That's what they always say. Everyone's like general manager. But as they go through our course, and they experience other areas, so they experience
Yeah.
revenue, they experience sales, marketing, operations, HR. By the time they get to the final year, yes, there's still people wanting to be general managers there, but you've also got people saying they want to be revenue analysis, they want to be sales, they want to be marketing, they want to work in HR. They kind of change a lot when they get into the final year because now they've had exposure to different things.
Yeah.
And also because when they go on a placement, and they get the opportunity then to work in every area of a hotel, when they go in their placement, and some of them, quite the majority of them, really go abroad as well. So we work with Disney World out in Orlando, we work with Universal Studios, we work with some big resorts out in Miami. Some of them have then again had exposure to different roles when they've been on their placement. So they then, come back wanting to do different roles that they've seen while they've been out there. Some of that's around technology as well, and quite a few around the commercial side. So yeah, it's a real mix of what everyone wants to do.
What's the appetite for the course? What's the appetite to get into commercial function in hospitality?
And that's, to be fair, that's become quite popular, particularly around from a revenue and sales marketing side. We do a lot with industry in terms of our collaboration. So we do a lot of competitions around this area. So we have a business competition that we do, which is around STR. Which I know everyone is in our industry is very familiar with. But our students take part with European business schools doing an STR competition. And we took part in it this year, and we were competing against 40 schools, and our final year students did that. And they did a big project around STR in Manchester. And we actually came fourth, the first time doing it, fourth out of
Wow.
all 40 hotels, which we were so proud of our students. They worked really hard on that. But we do a lot of competitions around commercial strategies and initiatives and different things to get our students really involved in these areas, because we know that this is what a lot of hotel general managers have told us in our conversations with them. They want students to be more commercially aware, because it's important, particularly in management and leadership roles, which is what we are educating our students to aspire to. That's very important, is having that awareness. So we kind of embed it throughout our programme, making sure that we give them a lot of exposure to that commercial side of the industry.
Fantastic. I extol the virtues of revenue management wherever I go, as a form of revenue manager and also someone that spends a lot of time with students in different universities. So here's your chance to impress me. Tell me about how big a part revenue management plays in your syllabus and how you deliver it to the students.
Yes, so it's huge. So it's a huge part of it. And in our second year, so that we talk about it briefly in first year because we know, you need to have a little bit more experience to kind of understand it a little bit. So we do
Yeah.
start to embed it in our first year. But when they get into second year, we actually have a whole unit based on revenue management, and it's actually delivered by a bit of a mix, really. So we've got one of our lecturers who has a lot of revenue management experience, but we also work with a commercial director for one of our 5-star hotels in Manchester, and she actually delivers 3/4 of this unit. So she comes in and she does all the delivery, based around, of course, all of her experience, and also what she knows in terms of like market trends, what's important about that market share piece, STR, formerly OTA Insight, now Lighthouse. We talk a lot about that. So we give our students a real insight into what tools hotels are using in that revenue management role, but also from a commercial side, to make them really aware of why they use them and why they're important and how to get the best out of them. And then in our final year with the hotel simulation, again, we have our team that specialise in revenue delivering it, but also we have revenue analysis coming in to do guest lectures. We had one just a couple of weeks ago with Simon Edwards, who's an area manager for Village Hotels. He came in and again talked about all of the different systems they use, how they create the rate strategy, what they're looking at, what sort of information is important, why it's important, why the revenue analysis role is important, particularly when you're running a hotel, and why you need to make sure that every department, has that strategy in place and that everyone's working towards that same goal. So it's embedded quite a lot in our program, and we think that's really important, and we very much rely on industry for that because we know the trends within that are changing all the time, the systems are changing all of the time. So we regularly bring in industry to make sure that we are giving our students the most up-to-date information when it comes to that area.
Good answer. Very well done. I'm very pleased. Tell me, Excel or not Excel?
We do a lot of Excel in our first year. So we have a unit called Business Intelligence, where we do, it's a whole unit again on Excel. Would I say it's one of our students' favourite? Probably not, but it's there. Again,
it's numbers.
It's numbers, it's pie charts, it's scatter graphs, it's histograms, it's line charts. It's, we know it's important to make sure our students know how to use it. They know why it's important, particularly when, we put it more as you need these skills for creating reports, for being able to do data analysis, to show, what you're trying to do from a strategy point of view, but also when you're trying to show data in a more visual way that's easy for people to understand, particularly when you're doing presentations and different things. So again, we have a whole unit in our first year where we go into a lot of detail around Excel. So we want to again make sure that our students know how to use this because they will be using it when they go into industry.
Yeah, and even before that, I mean, I took part in a panel discussion a couple of weeks ago at RMAP, Revenue and Pricing International, down in London, and we had a discussion around Excel and had some commercial leaders on the panel that actually have an Excel component to their interview. So if you're coming out of university and you're going for a role as a revenue analyst in a hotel, for instance, or a group of hotels, you'll be tested on Excel at interview to see what your proficiency is before they put you through to second interview. So, and a lot of the unis were quite unaware of that they kind of didn't cover it in too much depth. And then obviously they're churning out students that are not equipped to succeed at interview. So brilliant that you guys do it.
Yes, no, absolutely. It's really important. I know a lot of we have a few in our digital office where we all work. We have quite a few postgrad students there who are in their early 20s, and we have quite a few debates with them around it because they're always like, "Oh, Excel's so old-fashioned. Why do you teach the students about Excel?" And we're like, because they need to know how to
Yeah.
use Excel. But yeah, we have quite a few interesting conversations with them about it because, of course, in their minds are like, "Oh, Excel so last season. Why do you do that?" But yeah, we know, as you said, it's important, and industry are telling us this as well. They're like, we need to have people within the business who know how to use Excel, and we want to make sure our students do not lose out on opportunities because they don't know how to use them.
You mentioned a common thread throughout this last 40 minutes or so has been industry and industry involvement in your syllabus. Why is that so important?
Yeah, I mean it's massive for us because, well, for many reasons. One is hospitality. It's a very industry focused. It's very hands-on sector. So although it's great to teach the theory and to teach frameworks and different concepts, which we do in our lectures and in our tutorials, it's seeing it in practice and seeing it in action is really important, and also it really underpins what we're telling the students about, what we're trying to make sure that they have the right information for. And it makes such a difference, when you're in class and you're telling the students about something or teaching them about a theory or a concept, and then having a guest lecturer come in and say, "This is what we do," and then them actually saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, so you do actually use that in industry." So our lecturers are not just
She
showing us
wasn't
something
lying.
that they don't know. And the thing was about that, we actually, when we had our alumni panel and yesterday chatting to our final years, they actually confirmed that what we teach them in the course, they actually use in industry now. They were like, "Actually, when you think you're never going to use that, I use those a lot. Everything that you learn here, you will use when you go into industry." And that's really important for us. But also, I'm not that long out of industry. I'm only a couple of years out. Some of our colleagues within the department, everyone has an industry background, but some haven't been in the industry for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So for us, it's important to have those industry connections to make sure that we're giving the most up-to-date information to our students, and giving them everything that we need, because we know this industry changes all of the time, and we can't go on experiences from 10 years ago and
Mm.
teach our students that, because it's so different. And it's important for us to make sure, from a collaboration point of view, that what we're teaching the students they actually need. And that's why we work very closely with industry to get their advice, to get their feedback, to talk about what else do we need to teach students, what else are you looking for, what are you not seeing that you need, what should we be teaching the students about.
Mm. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And is there a big appetite amongst industry professionals in coming in and delivering guest lectures?
Yes, yes. The list is endless. We could fill our whole units actually just with guest lectures, which we're so lucky with. We have fantastic connections, within the UK, but across the world,
Mm.
wanting to come in, wanting to meet our students, wanting to, have some time with them, talk about their own organisations, but also share some best practices. And I think a lot of the people that have come in to do guest lectures, the main reason that they want to do it is because they want to be part of developing that future industry team members. So that is usually their main focus for coming in the first place, but then also to try and talk about their own businesses and find people to come and work within their businesses as well. We've always got people coming in for our careers events and coming in to have one-to-ones with our students and sharing job opportunities with our students. But we're really, really lucky with having all of these people who want to give up their time and come in
Mm.
and talk to our students, create presentations, do workshops with them, and invite them to their hotels as well. Our students get to go to some incredible hotels
Mm.
around the UK and around the world. And that's because, we've been invited, they want us to come in and see them, and they want to have our students there, which we're really lucky to have.
Yeah, and I presume that anyone that wants to guest lecture and give the time to come and see your students can get in touch with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, LinkedIn, that's where most of the people that aren't already connections of mine from in person usually contact me to say, this is what I would love to do. I'd love to meet your students. I'd love to have the opportunity to get in
Yeah.
front of them. So yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is great for me.
Fantastic. I would love to bring that. As I say, we've got the panel which we're hoping to tour around some universities this year and next. I'd love to bring the panel to Manchester Met because I think it'd be well received given the commercial acumen and the focus that you put on commercial in your syllabus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'd love to. We'd love to have you. Yeah, it's a huge part of our program. So yeah, it would be great to show you around the university and tell you more as well about what we do and meet some of the team who are involved in delivering it as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Pamela. I know how busy you are. You were telling me earlier, so thank you for giving up your time to come on to our show, and I'm more than happy to return the favour and come on to your show. But I know you've got a long list of admirers to work through, so maybe at some point I can come on your show.
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, absolutely, Jason. You're more than welcome to come on my show. Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Ah, you're too kind, too kind. Thank you very much, Pamela. And that's all we've got time for this week. Like and share the show because we're really vain and we love having lots of followers. See you next week.
Here we go!